let's talk about speedrunning. We wanted to start this video off with the most iconic tech in speedrunning. So we did a little research. I asked my girlfriend, who knows basically nothing about video games, hey, do you know anything about speedrunning? Her answer was, is that the thing where the Shy Guy goes big mode? Why does she even know that? Well, she was half right. We're starting things off with Super Mario 64 and the Backwards Longjump. If you haven't seen Mario do this,
I'm going to fly for you.
or at least heard of a BLJ, you're in for a treat. This is the speedrunning tech. It unlocks ways of playing the game that are otherwise impossible.
What? You're kidding, dude.
And it turns Mario from a plumber into an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Here we go!
So how does it work? Well, movement in Super Mario 64 is kept track of in a pretty simple way. When moving forward, Mario has a positive speed. When he's moving backwards, he has a negative speed. Under normal circumstances, Mario has a hard cap of how fast he can move forward. For example, when long jumping forward, Mario has a maximum speed of plus 48. However, the devs neglected to put this same cap in the negative direction. Normally, this isn't a problem, as the game has ways of slowing you down naturally. But in the November 2000 issue of Club Nintendo Mexico, Jose Angel Ruiz Villarreal and Dante Ivan Ruiz were credited with discovering that if you long jump forward and then repeatedly jump backwards on a slope, you can store the momentum value of each jump and accelerate Mario to warp speed. The two claimed that if you did this technique in the Endless Stairs, you could skip a big portion of the game. The Endless Stairs is the path that leads to the game's final level, Bowser in the Sky. Once you earn 50 stars playing the game, the door to the Endless Stairs unlocks. Unfortunately, you need 70 stars to actually make it to the top. If you try to ascend without 70 stars, Mario collides with an invisible checkpoint that tells the game to warp you backwards a few feet, and hitting this checkpoint over and over and over again gives the illusion that the stairs are endless.
I'ma think I go cuckoo crazy.
Here's where the backwards long jump comes in. By making Mario go faster and faster, he starts covering more ground on each frame. So, every time he hits the checkpoint, he gets a little bit further than he did on the previous jump. Eventually, no part of his body touches the checkpoint at all, and the game is like,
password. Cool.
And he bum rushes his way to the top of the staircase, no questions asked. On March 16th, 2003, GameFAQs user Jera2000 posted the first video evidence of the glitch, confirming that the game could in fact be finished with only 50 stars. But that's not all. In 2003, players discovered you could clip through the 50-star door by backwards long jumping on this staircase, bringing the minimum star requirement down to 31. Not long after, they brought it down to 16 with the MIP skip. Then, it was discovered in 2006 that you could glitch out of bounds in the lobby. Then, by performing a BLJ out of bounds, you can gain access to the first boss room, giving you the key to the basement while still at 0 stars. From here, another BLJ could be performed to skip the 30-star door without MIPs. Unfortunately, the portal for Dire Dire Docks blocks the next boss room, so you can't get the key to the upper floor of the castle, meaning you need at least 1 star to complete the game. But then, in 2007, two testers discovered that if you perform the 30-star door BLJ skip in a very precise spot, you can blow through the 30-star door and Dire Dire Docks, meaning you can complete Super Mario 64 with 0 stars. Needless to say, the backwards long jump is the most iconic tech in all of speedrunning. Next on our list is a technique that needs no introduction. Hit the music. Bunny hopping. Many speedruns would be nothing without it. Originating in Quake, bunny hopping has existed in some form or another in many different games. Half-Life, Portal, Left 4 Dead, and of course, Counter-Strike. Basically, if it was an FPS running on the source engine, there's a good chance it featured the technique. How bunny hopping works in each game is a little bit different, but the gist of it is that you gain momentum in the air by strafing, and maintain that momentum from one jump to the next by jumping on the first possible frame. This tricks the game into thinking that you never touch the ground, allowing you to build up speed that would otherwise be impossible. To be more consistent, many players bind jump to the mouse scroll wheel, allowing them to spam jumps while in the air to ensure that sweet frame 1 input every single time. For Half-Life, Portal, and Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, bunny hopping is the foundation of speedrun world records. In Half-Life 2, however, the devs capped you at just under 400 velocity using traditional bunny hopping techniques. But, much like in Super Mario 64, that only applies if you're moving forwards. Going backwards, you can go about 10 times that. Seriously, Did all the devs just forget to test jumping backwards? Gabe, explain yourself.
The entire team was an ass, and we won't be working with them again.
Okay. In Counter-Strike, bunny hopping even has its own minigames. People have created maps and obstacle courses you can bounce around on, and it's pretty much a game all its own. Even modern games like Titanfall and Titanfall 2, which were made using a modified version of the source engine, have bunny hopping as an integral part of their speedrunning. Sword flying is a technique in Halo 2 where you can cover huge distances with a single swing of the energy sword. Here's how it works. Every weapon in Halo 2 has an effective range where the reticle will turn red when pointed at an enemy. For some weapons, this indicates that aim assist is active. For others, like the rocket launcher, it allows you to lock onto vehicles and fire a homing missile. And for weapons like the sniper rifle, it just means, well, this is gonna hurt. The energy sword in Halo also has an effective range despite being a melee weapon. When the sword is swung outside of its effective range, you slice air. But if you're aimed at an enemy and the reticle is red, your character will lunge forward, closing the distance and guaranteeing a kill. Sword flying abuses this lunge mechanic by tricking the game into thinking that an enemy over there is within range. By holding a gun, usually a rocket launcher, beam rifle, or sniper rifle, you aim at an enemy, press Y then X in quick succession to swap to your energy sword and reload, and then hit the right trigger as the energy sword is coming out. If the 2-frame window is hit correctly, you'll lunge towards the enemy, regardless of how far away they are. Needless to say, this technique revolutionized Halo 2 speedrunning. But it took a while. In 2005, sword flying was patched out of Halo 2's multiplayer in Auto Update 3, a system-wide update that patched all games using Xbox Live. However, the devs made the decision to leave it in the campaign as the community was having a lot of fun with it. Then, in 2014, 343 announced Halo 2 Anniversary Edition. The game featured old techniques like BXB and BXR, which were staples of competitive Halo 2, but the game's physics systems were changed a little bit, removing techniques like sword flying. But then, in 2018, 343 did something unexpected. They rebalanced the game's physics systems, reintroducing sword flying in all their glory. Suddenly, the door on Halo 2 speedrunning was blown open, and quickly the records started falling. Since then, Halo 2A has seen a resurgence in popularity, and is a rare instance of a developer unfixing glitches in their game to make the community happy. Actually, you know what the sword flying glitch is best used for? We'll show you. Shoo! And then you fly, shoo, subscribe button. Our last glitch completely upended an entire speedrunning community and invalidated years of pathing in the any percent category. This is the Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Ganondorf Wrong Warp. A wrong warp is a technique used to access parts of the game out of the intended order.
Hello!
Oh my god!
In Ocarina of Time, there's a list of all the possible cutscenes, spawn locations, and entrances which reference each other and allow the game to move forward in a sequential order. For example, when you go through a door, the game will load the next room or play the appropriate cutscene, and everything makes sense. Enter the blue warp. Blue warps pop up after things like boss battles and allow Link to warp to other parts of the map. Once you touch the warp, the player loses control of Link and an invisible timer starts counting up. When this timer hits 101, it locks in what scene is about to be loaded, the screen starts to fade out, and once it hits 153, Link gets warped. Nothing you can do about it. But players figured out a way to regain control of Link during this animation. By jumping backwards and doing some item switching in mid-air, you can play your sword like an ocarina as you touch the blue warp. Suddenly, you'll have control over Link while the timer is counting up to 101, and speedrunners figured out that if you unalive yourself while warping, with a bomb, or by taking damage from something, you can skip the next cutscene and save a few seconds. However, a major discovery was made by Christian F23 in the Fire Temple, where jumping into the fire and dying resulted not only in skipping the cutscene, but actually warping Link to a completely different part of the game. Players quickly figured out tons of other ways to warp to the wrong part of the game, and even to the end credits. If you want an in-depth explanation on what's going on when the game makes these calculations, Bismuth made a great video breaking it down. While these techniques were used to shave several minutes off the any percent category, there's one wrong warp that completely upended it. In the Deku Tree, the first dungeon of the game, you fight a boss called Queen Goma. You can make this wall disappear, either by clipping through it, saving, quitting, and reloading, or by dying on the same frame that you beat Goma. Either way, you leave the room, re-enter, and the wall is gone. From here, you do the backflip sword ocarina thing we mentioned earlier, and move a certain distance away from the blue warp, which stops the timer from counting up as long as you're looking away from the blue warp. Now, you move in a very specific way to go through this door on the 101st frame of the blue warp timer. Doing it frame perfect will confuse the game into thinking you're going through the blue warp, but also going through the door at the same time. The result? You warp straight to Ganon's castle, the last level of the game. All you have to do now is escape the castle and finish the last boss fight. Because of how early this skip is in the game, it's even faster than the credit wrong warp. When this glitch was discovered in 2012, it essentially invalidated 14 years of pathing and optimization by the Ocarina of Time speedrunning community. And if you wanted any chance of getting the any % world record, you had to learn this glitch. Since then, even more discoveries have been made in Ocarina of Time. Recently, tons of effort and time have been put into techniques like arbitrary code executions, lowering the time further than what could be done with the Ganondorf wrong warp. But still, Ganondorf is one of the most famous examples of speedrunning ingenuity and is beloved by speedrunners to this day. Shoutout and thanks to Cloud, Steph, B, Pass, Shampoo, and Yashichi for being patrons of the channel. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is much appreciated. My name is Jonah, thanks for watching.